It is Wednesday. We are wizards, and today is a day we like to call Wizard Wednesday. It is the end of year magical extravaganza. Channeling in from the Quantum Downs, this is Elf. Joining me on the piano is
Dotta. I wish I was me on the piano.
And on the non-existent skins is Bear.
So for Christmas, Mrs. Dotta actually got me a concertina, which is like a pirate accordion. So, I actually would love to do like a live music episode of Wizard Wednesday, or at least like a mini concert. So yeah, we should do signups. Maybe by the summer I'll be good enough, and we could have SBZ come and play his guitar, and Margaret can sing, and I'll play the pirate accordion.
Oh, that's a fun idea.
That'd be amazing.
I love it. What did you say it was called? Concertina?
It's called a concertina, yeah, and it's like two hexagons with like a bellows in between. It's really fun.
Can you play metal on it?
You could.
I'll bring my double bass pedal.
How is that different from like an accordion? That's what it sounds like. An accordion.
I guess technically it would be classified as an accordion. Yeah, no, it is an accordion. But it's like just like a little travel one, So if you're like on your voyage with your crewmates and you all want to break out into song, you're like, oh, I brought my concertina. This is perfect. I was just waiting for this.
Yeah, that sounds like something that happened all the time on pirate ships.
Yeah. I always play my concertina when I'm dying of scurvy.
Right, yeah, you should have brought some limes.
We've got a big show today, and I mean it's a big one. We've got updates, we've got cult questions, we've got an end-of-year roundup from Magic Machine and from the cult. And if we have time, actually, that's probably all we're going to have time for today. So let's jump right in. Quick update. Apparently, it's somebody's birthday today, or maybe it was a few days ago, and that person is the notorious Sami Kitty. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'm probably a few days off on that, but I noticed some chatter in the Discord. So happy birthday, Sammy. And then I also wanted to give another update. Merlin, the illustrious Merlin, the magical Merlin, just sent a beginner's guide to me and the team this morning. I haven't had a chance to look totally through it, but what I really love is oftentimes we will put out a request saying we need this, we need that, and a cult member just steps up to the plate in the next few days. And so we definitely want to get this beginner's guide out there, because I know that whenever new people come to the cult, that's people are like, where to start, how do I dive in? This is something we're always improving on. So Merlin, thank you so much. I can't wait to share this guide.
Yeah, one of the things on the beginner's guide too is, we have the wiki, and then Merlin has also his like tree wiki. If you want access to the Wikipedia as well, feel free to reach out to any of us, and we're happy to kind of like get more people involved there. I think that's a couple of those resources are a great way for people to collaborate and get these ideas organized. So that's really exciting. Thank you, Merlin.
Yep. Okay, cult questions. We don't have too many today, but let's start out with a good classic end-of-year question from Tanya Del Rio. Do you make New Year's resolutions, and if so, what are they? What's funny is last week someone asked us about mistakes or things we regret or things we can improve. And I said, no, I'm good at everything, or something arrogant like that. But the truth is I'm actually really bad at Twitter. And so my resolution this year is to get better at Twitter. That's mine. What about you, Dotta Bear?
That's a great one. No. I always kind of have like my internal revolutions throughout the whole year, but I do turn 40 this year. I turned 40 in January. And so, So be ready for your midlife crisis, cult leaders midlife crisis this year.
Are you saying you're going to go rogue on us, Dotta, and burn the house down?
Well, no, we're just gonna shoot up testosterone by a Corvette, a red Corvette with
So,
convertible.
so go rogue and burn the house down.
Yeah, exactly.
Bear, you hit your midlife crisis years ago, so I know that's not your resolution.
Let's just
What do you got?
relax. Let's just relax here, man. My gosh. I can go harder than both of you guys combined. So I don't even want to
That's
hear
true,
it.
That's
actually.
true. It's true.
Put a 20-year-old next to me. I dare that person try to beat me at anything. No, my resolution. My resolution is to work harder and smarter, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And like we spend a lot of time. Like I was looking through the beginner's guide that Merlin put together, which is just absolutely fantastic. And I think, and I think I can speak for the three of us. We spend a lot of our time banging our heads against the wall, trying to figure out how to simplify and communicate who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, all the things. And so I think, I don't think we've figured it out completely. So I think one of my resolutions is really try to like systematize how we approach that, and been doing some thinking about like what videos we can making, how we can break it down. I think the tough part is like however you approach it, there is no like simple answer to it, right? Because it's just like there's so many layers to what we're doing, and a lot of those layers have been created by the cult themselves. So anyway, that's my New Year's resolution, is to figure out how to solve that riddle.
Yeah, I think that it was like you that told me something that I even put in my notes, which was just like there's two ways. Like with this kind of project, there's two things that you do. Like you build stuff and then you talk about it. And like I way over index on the building stuff and like way under index on the talking about it. And I think that's like clearly something that is like, yeah, a challenge facing the cult through this year is like literally let's just talk about, what we did last year for the first quarter, and try to make it a bit easier to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think crypto projects in general are notorious for talking about things and overpromising, but not really building and delivering.
Yeah, but there's things to like learn, right? There's things to learn from the people who just do a lot of talking, right, and not a lot of building, because they're able to sort of squeeze value out of that. And I think perception is important, and I think I mean, there's been a lot of really interesting intellectual conversations going on in the Wizards Discord, which I really appreciate. I mean, I want you all to know that we all read all the things that are being written in there. And a lot of it has to do with just sort of amplifying what's going on, how we talk about it, how we can get bigger and better. And I think like paired with like really strong announcements and partnerships that we have coming up, along with getting better about how we're communicating what we're doing, I think is a good combo.
Yeah, the sales chat has been super, super helpful. I think that like one of the things that's interesting is maybe, well, I don't know, like I felt like very early in the project, maybe in the first few months, when there were things that were kind of like challenges, it was just to the three of us to kind of figure it out. And what's really wonderful is sort of like it's like a whole cult effort now where they're like, oh, we're seeing these problems. If you hang out in sales chat, you know what they are. And so I think, but being able to kind of like dig in, have a conversation, have perspectives from all over. Well, it's just great because we're able to like come up with solutions, and we have a lot of good ideas for this year.
We sure do. Next question. Slim asks, who in your childhood inspired you to pursue your current career path? My current career path, I think I've said this before, and it's kind of a cheesy answer, but honestly, J.R. Tolkien was a huge influence on me. I read Lord of the Rings when I was like 13 years old, long before the movies ever came out. And it blew my mind how one person could create such a gigantic world with so many characters, so much history, so much lore behind it. And that sort of hope and dream has never really left me. Do you guys have any childhood heroes?
Yeah, I think similarly, like it's really clear. It's very easy for me to see like kind of my dad's influence in my life and how I ended up here. And so far as like, my dad was the one that like would sit down and read us like Lord of the Rings. He'd read us the Chronicles of Narnia. He would read us when we were old enough. We had like the Wheel of Time series books in our house, right? And then it was also my dad too. Where in like the 80s and 90s, my dad always had a Mac. So like even when there was sort of like counterculture or like really honestly too early to even own a Mac, we were like super into it. My dad got me my first book on like how to do like C compilers, and like he didn't really, he was kind of like learning how to program too. Neither of us knew really what we were doing. And so, but I think like you can totally see that common thread is looking back on like what got me here is this like just like really enjoying these like imaginative, inspiring stories, but then also pairing it with like technology all along the way. Bear?
Both of my parents were big influences, but specifically, I think my mom is the one who taught me how to be a risk taker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know,
Did your mom teach you how to use your phone because your mic cut out?
Oh.
yeah. No. Whoa. No, just kidding. No, my daughter called me. No, I think
Okay.
there are like two types of like everything I've ever done in my life has been like a default no. It's like I wanted to be in a band and like make it as a professional musician. That's a default no. Wanted to be a writer. That's certainly a default no. Like, most people never make it. And then like getting into like starting your own companies, that's usually a default no if you look at the statistics. And so I think, I have to credit my mom for instilling in me this ability to get like punched in the face 10,000 times and just like stand back up and keep going. So thanks, mama.
Thanks, Mom, for punching me in the
Yeah.
face 1,000
Don't
times.
don't
That's a quote from Bear
don't
Snake.
call the police on my mom, please. That's metaphorical.
Okay, Slim also has another good question. This is actually a really good question. He asks, is water wet? And I think maybe a lot of people see that first, you think, oh, Slim is just trolling us. But there's some deep wisdom in what Slim is asking. This question, is water wet? Is almost like a Zen koan, if you know what that is. It's basically a question that sort of distorts your understanding of reality through a nonsensical proposition. It sort of embraces the chaos of the world, and it's essentially what would happen if a purple hat and a white hat went to a bar and chatted all night until closing. So my answer is that considering this question is a cone, there is no point in answering it. Wet describes a state of being where one material or object is soaked or covered in water. So can water be covered in itself? Or is water covered in water just water? So Slim, I say to you, go put your purple hat on and meditate in the White Tower for 7 days.
That's such a cop out. That's such a cop out.
Oh, okay, Bear, you answer. Is water wet?
I mean, can we all just say water is wet? Correct. Water is wet.
Okay,
Yes.
so then I ask you, can water be covered in water?
Yeah, you're covered in yourself all the time, aren't you?
No, dude. Maybe
well,
you are.
I love the confidence. How could you possibly be covered in yourself?
I don't know. That sounds kind of like an innuendo, dude.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't look into what I'm saying too deeply.
Okay.
If you meet the Buddha in a pool, kill him.
Yeah. Okay, and then final question from Cosmic Nightjar to the founders. What was your favorite wish that people made to Gigas Santa? That's a fun one. Do you guys want to start on that one?
I was surprised at how many people tweeted like, "Oh, I want a pony." Like that was like,
yes.
I haven't looked at the logs, but like that felt like the number one thing I saw on Twitter. And so
Agreed.
It was funny how like, yeah, a lot of people reaching out. They're like, "Oh, great, Gigas Chad said I get a pony," and I'm just like, "Hang on there, buddy."
No, that's my response. Is everybody asked for a pony, and Gigas Chad lied and said everyone's getting a pony.
Gigas Chad was also confused about whether I was a he or a she, so I don't think he knows as much as he thinks.
I mean, that's understandable, but
Yeah, I'm gonna say that Quantum Ouroboros was distorting time for Gigas Chad, and he was referring to last Wizmas, when everybody did get a pony. Also, I noticed that someone asked for a bottle of beer, and he said he's not going to serve underage Wizzies. I thought that was cute. He told some good jokes and poems. Those are the ones that really stood out to me. Bear,
I'm
did
trying
you
to
have any?
think of. I'm trying to think of like specific ones. There weren't any. I mean, I read so many. I feel silly not being able to call them out, but I do think that Gigas Chad handled most of the requests pretty well.
Yeah.
Cheddar Bob gave him a run for his money for sure. But yeah, I just thought it was so much fun, and kudos to Dotta. I think it was you that came up with the idea to integrate chat into that. So I thought that was really neat.
Ooh, yeah, I'm not sure whose idea it was, but props to Magus was here for putting that together. I mean, I thought it was really charming, really well done. Almost single-handedly, he put that together. So good job.
Well done,
Uh,
Loz.
Chat GPT, more like Chad GPT.
Yeah, there you go. And
Hey-o.
I stole that from Magus Wazir. So
yeah. But he doesn't talk, so we get to steal all his jokes.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Bring it, Magus.
Well, okay, this is a good segue into the next section, which is the end of year roundup. So let's start with all the things that Magic Machine has done, and we're going to tweet about this later with a more comprehensive list. But let's tackle it in Wizard Wednesday, and let's go in somewhat of a reverse order. Yeah, Wizmas, a very Gigas Wizmas, Chad GPT. What I loved about this is it was just it was an accessible way for people to access ChatGPT. I'm guessing a lot of people had not used it yet because maybe they don't know how or whatever. But we just built a fun little portal into it, and I'm guessing this is a lot of people's first experience with ChatGPT.
And there is so much opportunity there. So a couple of things. One, when we did Gigas Chad, we didn't actually keep a lot of context between your different requests. So it was super fun that you could ask Chad, write me a poem on this or ask him a question, but it wasn't as much of a conversation as you get with Chat GPT, which we might do in the future, right? This was just our first kind of dipping our toe in being able to use those language models. The second thing is that you can actually fine tune GPT-3, which basically means you can kind of prompt it with your own knowledge. So one of the goals for this year is to kind of put together a data set of everything that's known about the Runiverse. One of the things that you notice when you talk to Gigas Chad is he kind of knew about Elf and Dota and a little bit about himself, but if when you start to like kind of dig deep into different things about the Runiverse, he frankly just was like making stuff up. So, well, you can actually train ChatGPT to know certain facts or to at least to learn things. And so it would be very, very interesting. And I think that we probably will. We'll put together a data set, which is like literally everything that is known about the universe, about the Runiverse, and you'll be able to have kind of like a chatbot, either that we put it into Discord or we put it, in some UI like that. So yeah, be on the lookout for that.
We want to train ChatGPT on the Book of Lore and the Wikipedia.
Ooh, yeah.
And I mean, what an amazing resource / tool that would be.
Yeah.
And Matto, I think, said something interesting about it. I saw the other day where he described it as sort of just like a fun little experimental thing we released, yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't an airdrop. It wasn't tokens. It wasn't anything huge. It was just a fun little experience, and that's what I think I loved about it so much. But yeah, I think we will play more with Chat GPT. There's a lot of promise there. Okay, going in somewhat reverse order. Recently Bear and I were at the Miami NFT event. I spoke on stage just about NFTs and shilled as much as I can about the Runiverse. And Bear nearly killed everyone who hung out with him because he stayed up for 3 days straight. And, trick or treat at the Nightmare Imp's door. Okay, this was a great event. Basically because, well, three reasons. It introduced a whole new collection of items. It introduced a whole collection of curses or tricks. And then it pulled in so many other projects around the NFT community. This was, I think, one of the best events we did all year.
I loved it. I think this idea of course, the treats and the story building that comes from all those treats and items, the things that we're planning on using them for the future. But yeah, this idea of collaboration, I know I always talk about it, but this, hugging in other projects that you have respect for and that are building along and defining what's going on in our space, I think is going to be a common theme, not only with what we do in the future, but also with what everybody's doing. It's like just weaving in other projects, other communities. I thought it was great.
I also really love burn to reveal mechanics. I think I'm going to use that more. It's super fun to have a collection that's like split into kind of like the box, and you don't know what's inside, and you can kind of like trade that or savor it and save it, or save it for a rainy day or a special event. And then you open the box, and then you kind of like have a secondary rarity revealed underneath. I mean, I think that's such a fun mechanic. I probably will do it more.
Yep. Lots of experiments and things we learned through that event, and it grew the Runiverse. I've been seeing people use the items in really fun and creative ways to tell stories, and I think there's definitely more to come with those items. Another thing that came to us was the Wizipedia, which I think at that point when it came out, I said it was the greatest thing to happen to the Runiverse, and I think I still believe that. I certainly want to make more entries myself. I know I've been saying that I will, and I will. But it's
Yeah.
just, this thing is going to be a treasure trove of information that we can do so many things with. Yeah. Bear, or do you guys want
we
to
had
comment
a
on
little
that?
bit of we had a little bit of spam issue just because like MediaWiki is like a well-known platform, spam bots target it. So we do have it as like invite only. The invite right now just goes through asking Magus Wazir. We can figure out something that's like token gated eventually. But yeah, but really like it's very open insofar as like all you have to do is ask, and we're happy to give you access to that, and we really appreciate our contributors to Wikipedia. It's an important part of kind of managing the ever-growing Runiverse.
Yep. Then about midway through the year, a major event, the Warriors collection dropped. I love the Warriors collection. I think the best thing about it is that it expanded the world. It gave us an entirely new character class with just a different type of lore around them. I think the Warriors now are just like a great entry point into the Forgotten Runes Runiverse. And yeah, and then connected to the Warriors was the great forging, in which a lot of people were able to forge weapons, gold weapons. And the Warriors just continue to be strong. I'm going to name two notable Warriors later in the show today. And then earlier than that, the year, I did a TED Talk. I did a TED Talk about decentralized world building. And probably the most notable thing about this TED Talk is that it's now banned.
Forbidden knowledge.
Yeah.
It's forbidden knowledge. I've been banned from the TED stage because I shilled wizards too hard. That's straight up the reason. But I don't know. We might be able to get it back somehow. I don't know if it doesn't happen. I don't know. The video that was made, perhaps we can repurpose it for the YouTube channel eventually. But yeah, that's a thing that happened this year. And then there are several events that I'm just calling the Summer of Magic. And so the most notable event that happened during this time was, of course, the epic, legendary, groundbreaking party that we threw in New York City at NFT NYC. And I'm going to go ahead and hand all the accolades for that party to Bear Snake and Loch Ness.
Oh yeah.
Bear Snake, how'd you do it? How did you get you got a freaking pony at our party? How did you do that?
Listen, when you have magic, you can really get anything done. No, it's just a lot of work. Yeah, Locke was by my side the entire time. So much, like, so many details went into that, and I still, like, I get on calls all the time where they're like, "I was at your party, and oh my god, I had so much fun." Um, and I think what I liked about it most was that it wasn't just a party; it was like more experiential, and we had, all these sort of like quote unquote activations where you could try. Well, I think that's when we launched the frog hunt, the frog hunt for or the hunt for the frog light, whatever we called it. So you could like try
Light bulb
light
frogs.
bulb frog. So you could like try our video game for the first time. We had like the wall of beast or the hall of beasts where we had these really awesome lenticular prints of all the beasts and the different states and information about them, and you could like write it with a typewriter and press with wax, and there was just all sorts of like really fun stuff to do, and so it felt like we had a mushroom forest, so it felt like you were really sort of stepping into our world, and I'm like chomping at the bit to sort of do that again, and take it even further when the time's right. But I think I think ultimately we should probably have our own little section of Disneyland. But if that's not going to work out, we're going to do something else. But I think, yeah, the idea of like rebuilding our world, I think anyone would love to sort of take a walk through the universe. That was fun.
Yep. Epic party. Another thing that happened during the Summer of Magic, my favorite thing actually at that event, one of my favorite things was the fact that Quantum Ouroboros appeared in Times Square, just staring down at us like a
Yeah,
god.
yeah,
There's so much quantum synchronicity happening there. The Quantum Ouroboros is this sort of like divine dragon of space and time, and it was sitting in Times Square, which is a distortion of space, and it was so freaking perfect. I'll never get over that.
I was not to be like too parental or whatever, but I was just so proud of you. Like, I mean, I know your parents were there too, and they were proud of you as well. But like, I think all of us just felt this like collective pride to see your work, our like friend and leader, like your work up there on Times Square in front of everyone. That it was also part of like the Christie's auction, which is this just like global brand with of like fine art, and so yeah, I think that was really wonderful.
yeah. It was awesome. And then the other thing that people don't even really talk about, we should talk about this more, is that your piece sold. There were like, I don't know, maybe 20 pieces in that auction. Your piece sold number 2 only behind
Behind Beeple.
Beeple. Like, I'm sorry, I know it's Wizard Wednesday, but what the fuck? Like, people don't
Yeah.
even talk about that. Like,
I know.
my God, like, what do we have to do here to get some
Yeah.
love? But yeah, no, that was like that was crazy. Sorry, I just started seeing red. I've calmed down now. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's time of year for that.
Truly a
What?
legendary moment.
Seeing red? It's the time of year to see red.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's going on over
I,
there?
I think he's referring to Santa Claus. Okay. Furthermore, the Summer of Magic, we also published our first physical comic book, and we handed those out on the streets of New York City. I mean, how many NFT projects can you point to and say, yeah, they printed 200,000 physical copies of a comic book? Probably only just us.
We also, by the way, I know you're not doing in specific order, but Comic-Con New York was in
Yep.
October, and we were there, and
Yep.
it was amazing. I've met a handful of people who actually found out about us while getting handed the comic book by the street team, and then we were also at Comic-Con in a big way in July. So yeah, the comic book was a big deal, and there's a lot more coming on that front too.
Definitely a lot more coming on that front, and perhaps we will have a bigger presence at Comic-Con as well because of it. But that's for another Wizard Wednesday. Okay, and then speaking of Ouroboros, we also, of course, released 7 Beasts prior to that. I think that might have been the funnest quote token drop we've ever done, just because it lasted 7 days, and every day you got to like watch the countdown on the auction. It was a new beast every day. And it spawned all the beast spawn that the entire community, if you were lucky, you could claim. I mean, that I think was one of my favorite events of all, like as far as tokenomics and crypto goes.
It was so fun because everybody had to team up to unlock the gate, which
Yes.
and then you unlock the gate, which kicked off the auction. The auction ran once every day, and then once the auction was completed, the NFT was transferred to the owner, which kicked off the beast spawn, which was a random rotation of 42 beasts to random holders, each 1 of 7 days. So you had to check back every 24 hours to see if you could claim your spawn. Ugh, it was so fun. I just wish the supply was higher, but the event itself was just really fun.
That
Yeah.
reset every single day. I remember going in, and me and Nalgene, I know Locke was in there that week a lot. It was just so much fun. The reset. Oh God.
Yeah.
And then Dote, I think you implemented that thing where like every time it bid, it would push it back another 15 minutes, like the close of the auction.
Oh, yep. Yep.
Which was always really fun.
Yes.
Yep. I loved that event so much. It was probably my favorite. We also this year introduced the House of Wizards DAO, which it's a DAO. So like just on principle, I try not to interact with too much. I think Dota, you interact with it far more than I do.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, you want to take this one?
Well, yeah. So the DAO is really just been developing since then till now to have a really robust set of like election mechanisms, to have kind of like a formal legal structure on the ground. As much as people throw around this word DAO, I can tell you that there are almost none that have kind of like a sound legal framework, right? You have nouns and maybe a handful of others. And so a lot of what we've had to do is kind of somewhat groundbreaking in terms of establishing it, which provides both liability protection for the not only the signers but also for the cult and any of the participating members as well. So yeah, so we should actually have all of the papers signed and filed, but in January, and then that DAO will be off to the races. I mean, I think that it'll still have maybe some challenges or some things to figure out in terms of like ongoing revenue for the DAO as well, but you know it will be really incredible to kind of like part of this project as a decentralized legendarium means that there are people from all sorts of groups kind of contributing, right? So Magic Machine is the originators of Forgotten Runes, but we are not the only creators, of course, right? We're not the only people providing value. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have, of course, individual holders who maybe have one or two wizards, but in the middle, you have these like larger organizations like the Forgotten Council, the House of Wizards DAO, which will be used to kind of mainly for funding these sort of community art projects, right? Community building projects. It's this DAO actually. This House of Wizards DAO is actually just one possible DAO. You can, and I've actually heard that some other people will create other DAOs that have slightly different purposes, right? The House of Wizards DAO is a DAO that's designed around like funding community artwork, right? It's like it's not like required to be a nonprofit, but the sort of initial like charter is kind of geared that way, that they don't need to make their money back. But it's easy to kind of imagine a DAO that maybe is sort of like unabashedly profit seeking, and so you might see some things like that come out this year. But yeah, the House of Wizards DAO should get its own paperwork in order this year, and you'll start to see it moving a lot faster.
Yep, it's I've barely interacted with it, but to the extent that I have, it's been a bureaucratic nightmare, and that's no fault of our own. That's just
Right.
governmental regulation.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, and then we had some pretty notable appearances on Wizard Wednesday. I'm going to name off three people. We had Alexis Ohanian join us for a Wizard Wednesday at one point last year. We had Christian Nairn, aka Hodor, who narrated our animated trailer. And then we had, of course, the lovable, amazing writer Derek Kolstad, who is our current showrunner. Um, that was great. I would love to have more of these sort of celebrities, I guess, on Wizard Wednesday. I'm sure Bear can hook it up. But yeah, I mean, and then speaking of, I would say finally, maybe one of the biggest things that happened was our animated trailer was released. I think it was like last April or something. I can't believe that was this year. It feels so long ago. Um, but yeah, I mean that is the whole show thing is still on track. But yeah, it was great having those three guys on.
Yeah, some folks have said, in the chat, they've said, I'm not really sure, like, what's going on with the show. Feels like there hasn't been a lot of progress, or I'm like not exactly clear what's going on there. I think that sort of making a traditional television show moves at a pace that is like quite slower than we kind of predict in crypto, right? Like, I think that
Yep.
we released the trailer in May.
April
Yeah,
or May. April
yeah,
or May.
So that was like, what is that, 7 months ago?
yep.
You know, so I think that, like, from kind of the perspective of everyone on the other end, it's sort of moving at a regular pace insofar as, like, you have to kind of like develop, all right, who are the characters? And then we someone comes up with some ideas, and then we pass it around, and then we think, oh, does this have enough of the Runiverse in it? And then we kind of massage it and decide which characters we want to focus on. What is the initial story, right? Are we building Game of Thrones, or are we building Harry Potter, or are we building Star Wars, right? And so there's a lot of meetings that have to happen on a week to week basis. We've met with Derek, I don't even know, a half a dozen times.
Many,
Yeah.
many, 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 many times. More than a half a
And
dozen, I'll tell you that.
yeah, and so then now it's like, okay, we've got these pages, everybody likes them, we've got to put together a deck, right? And so then we work with Titmouse to kind of put together a deck, and then they say, oh well, we can draw some characters. Which characters are we going to draw? What do they look like? What are their motivations? How do they think about the world? How old are they? Develop, like, really developing, because of course we can't have 10,000 characters in the first season, so it's like, who
Yes,
are
we
the
can. I'm joking.
yeah,
No, we
right.
can't. No, we can't.
So who are the
We can
6
have
or
5,000.
12 or 100 characters we're going to have? What do they look like? What are they motivated by, right? And so, like,
Yeah.
all of that stuff is happening, and I think that, from my opinion, I would love to just be like, every time we meet, we publish a blog post and we're like, this is what we talked about. But it turns out that, like, there's actually very good reasons to kind of, like, you keep it internal, because then it allows people to, like, make mistakes. It allows people to experiment, right? You're not committing to things externally. All that to say, all of that is still happening, right? So we're working with Titmouse to help us put together a deck. We're working with Derek to put together the story, and all. It's like, it is completely on track. And I think we will go out with them and pitch it sometime this year. So I don't know if you want to add anything to this, Bear.
Yeah, no, I mean the plan is find the distributor sooner than later. So there's a couple things sort of happening.
Can you define what you mean by when you say distributor?
Distributor is like a streaming service, Netflix or
HBO,
Amazon Prime
Amazon,
Video.
Hulu, whatever.
Exactly. And so that is the key to making a television show successful, is getting on a platform that has a lot of subscribers, or what have you. So, but I think we'll have a distributor
What was that?
locked
Bear's
in.
cutting out again.
Can you not hear me? I'm right here.
We
No?
can now. Go ahead.
Tell your
Oh,
mom to stop punching you.
Yeah, Mom. That's good. That's a good callback. I'd say, like, by the end of March, I feel like we will likely have all be set to go, and all that stuff too. So yeah, it's still quite very exciting, and as Dotta said, it just takes a long time. This is the world where I come from, and I know Alpha spent a lot of time in it too. It's just, it's why, honestly, it's why I stopped writing, is because just it moves at such a snail's pace that it's just quite frustrating. So thanks for being patient, everyone. But I'll tell you, we literally have the best team out there to help execute and get this thing done. So I'm very excited.
Oh, it's going to be
Yeah.
amazing. It's going to be like nothing that's ever hit the screen before.
And also, just to round it out, I also think
Yep.
there's other, and I don't think we're ready to talk about, but there's other things that impact the decisions that we make about the TV show that have nothing to do with the TV show. We talk about all. I've seen in the tower and sales chat, like, okay, great, you guys are having a TV show. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean for the core collection? Well, it can mean a couple different things. And I think it's our job to strengthen that connection and that bridge between the two. And so, even down to even the look of the characters, There's ways to implement that into sort of on-chain activity that ties that that relationship as close as possible. So anyway, it's just very layered.
Yeah. What does it mean? I mean, it means a lot of things. It means seeing characters that you own on the screen. It means seeing content that you put in the book of lore on screen. It means potentially, and we're still trying to work this out, but like some sort of royalty system that is distributed among the cult for these larger media expressions. I mean, the show means a lot of stuff. The show, in conjunction with merch and comics and toys, the entire franchise that we're speedrunning, it means a lot. So
And
anyway,
and doing it properly too, right? I think a lot of people, just like a lot of like quote unquote DAOs haven't been started. Well, we'll see how those DAOs hold up to, lawyers kicking the tires on them if they end up getting come after. So I think like what we're doing is we're building the media killer. We're like, I'm not going to say we're building the Disney killer, but like they certainly have created a model that is persistent across all of Hollywood. And can you reverse that and prove the 180 version of that in a year and a half? No, that's a ridiculous statement. So it's just, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, we could spend a whole Wizard Wednesday on show in the entertainment industry, but I want to keep pushing. So I want to get to those are the major highlights from Magic Machine over the past year. There's a few things I left off, but those are maybe the major ones. I also want to go over some things that the cult did this year that are perhaps even more impressive. And then maybe next Wizard Wednesday we'll go over what do we have planned for 2023
that's a good
next year, because we certainly have a lot planned.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to break out the community, the cult content into two categories. One will be like what I'm calling just community projects, like a big project that affected the whole community, like the Forgotten Punks collection. Okay, that's in that bucket, and then the other bucket will just be like individual things. So the community projects, at the top of my mind right now is of course the Black Sands Pony Racing by Legatus. What a fun idea! Everybody's been loving it, and probably the best thing about it is that my pony is beating Dota's pony. So yeah, I mean that's been great. The Barren Court has just been an awesome little project. I love all the artwork coming out of the Barren Court. Massive world building potential from that project. We've got the Loxley Labs, which I told everyone to go follow last week. Big things are going to be coming out of that, but I think you can tell just from looking at the current Twitter page, the art is just gorgeous. So that's going to be a big one to watch in 2023. And like I said at the top, the Forgotten Punks derivative collection, so-called derivative collection. I remember when that hit, Magic Machine internally, we all just went crazy.
Yeah.
We were so excited about that, and there's still a lot of Forgotten Punks that I really want. Bear and Dotta, you guys can interject anytime. I'm just going to keep on rattling these off.
I think I cut out, but did you say babies?
I think Babies was 2021, wasn't it?
Well, we should still give babies a shout out.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, the Forgotten Babies Wizard Orphanage. No matter what year that was done, it was freaking amazing. Definitely a cult classic. Everybody loves the babies. So yeah, kudos to the babies. Speaking of derivative collections, the Heroes of Cumberland was a personal favorite of mine, which was of course the sort of bastard child of the Cucumpocalypse, which we will never speak of. But the Heroes of Cumberland are great. I think that was Maxwell's project. Just beautiful characters, basically food-themed Runeverse characters is what they were. They were all great. The Runes trading card game by Give a Hoot. Another classic. I think that is still in development, but what we've seen so far has been great. Moron Global, and pretty much everything Moron Global does, especially with Nosferatu, aka Lil Nas, just always excellent stuff coming out of that crew. They did the excellent fanny packs during the Summer of Magic. Great T-shirts. Just everything More on Global does, I love. I mean, I could do a whole Wizard Wednesday on just what they're doing with Nosferatu. Meeple has done some really great things. I think, notably the treasure box that he mailed out to everyone. What a gift! That was fantastic. And then, of course, Meeple also did a really great compilation of all the hat colors that we talked about in Wizard Wednesday. Another personal favorite is the little ceramic elf that Baron Von Fancy made for me. Still sitting on my shelf. Will always be sitting on my shelf. It makes me want to pick up ceramics myself. Just a beautiful little piece. Tabitha of the Marsh, aka Kursahawa or whatever. I don't know how to say your name. Translated the comic into German. What an amazing feat. Thank you so much. We're gonna get that on our website. But yeah, it was really well done. SPZ has been so gracious all year, is making bots for the Discord.
So many bots.
So many bots.
Oh.
And they're so fun. And yeah, I mean, SPZ, you're the bot master. The Lorb by VMark, which is basically like sort of a 3D spatial mapping of the Book of Lore. Slim did the what do we call them? The blue stickman? The blue stickmans? The blue stick
those are great.
Yeah. I briefly even used one as my PFP. Yeah. Crucifor with his Hail Draconis comic collection included wizards in one or a few of the issues. A really great crossover there. And then that song, okay, that Chimera song that Lorepunk and SPZ made. Oh my God. I think it gave everybody goosebumps when they played it. Freaking phenomenal. Bam Bam reading the entire book of lore.
So fun.
A Herculean task that has been unmatched since. I mean, how amazing was that? Bam Bam reading the entire book of lore. Kel, who gives a Wizard Wednesday summary every week on Twitter. If you're not reading Kel's excellent Wizard Wednesday threads, what are you doing? TV's Forgotten Market. This is something I think we need to definitely put more front and center. The Forgotten Market. It's really well designed. It's just an amazing tool. Merlin's NFT Worlds, basically recreating the entire freaking collection in Minecraft style. Merlin is one of those wizards who we just can't say enough good things about.
Acid Eater did costumes for Halloween. Wizard costumes.
I loved the costumes. They were
Yes.
so cute.
Yes. Yeah, the Halloween costumes were fantastic. The doll wizards are fantastic. The noun wizard walk cycles. Who did the noun? Was that Sweetbread who did those?
I think so. Sweetbread, yeah.
Yeah. So good. Okay, so those are the community projects that I thought of just off the top of my head. And now I just want to give a shout out in the last 10 minutes to some just individual projects.
And by the way, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, you obviously forgot, X, Y, and Z. Like, of course we did, because there's too many. So I want to make like a graphic and a tweet storm this week where I like highlight all of these projects. So paste in Discord, if you're listening and you remember ones that I forgot, paste in Discord any sort of ecosystem, whether it's 22 or 21 as well, like cult content ecosystem, like projects. I'm going to tweet about it this week. So yeah, let me know.
Yeah, I definitely neglected a bunch of stuff, and maybe I'm going to say it in this next section, but yeah, the universe is growing at an exponential rate, and I am but a human. I can't recall all of it, and that's what I love about it. But yeah, so speaking of individual projects, the Book of Lore has over 4,000 entries. And I say that, but it's more impressive than just the number. It's the quality and the creativity expressed in the Book of Lore is some of the most. It's one of the most incredible corners of the internet, I think, ever, and it's still sort of undiscovered by like the mainstream, I guess. Because I often find myself flipping through the Book of Lore and just being astonished at the creativity that goes into these pages. Um, I've really noticed a sort of marked shift in the style and the tenor and the formats that these entries are taking. Because in the beginning, most of these entries really sort of they seem to be more or less standard prosaic narratives that were supplemented with imagery. But now I'm seeing an uptick in more experimental formats. And the creativity that's being expressed is not just in the content of the stories, but in the techniques and the forms as well. And I have no doubt that someday when the mainstream stumbles upon this tome, they're just going to have their minds blown. Um, the history of the internet is filled with these events of like the mainstream stumbling upon some hidden gem on the internet, some obscure flame war on a message board, or some bizarre unexplainable website, or some abstruse joke or meta meme, or some niche aesthetic, some esoteric wiki, some dark web horror, or some a subculture within a subculture thriving in the hinterlands of the internet. And I think when the mainstream finds the Book of Lore, the world is just going to be shocked that this has been happening right under their noses. Because when you find things like this, it just sort of warps the reality that you once knew. You think you finally understand the way the world works, and then you take a wrong fork in the road and you stumble onto a cult of wizards dancing naked in the woods. And so I think when the mainstream finds the Book of Lore, they're going to find this creative output of some of the most remarkable cult members. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about someone like Tad Major, who just does these amazing animations nonstop all year long. Every time I see a new one, it distorts my reality. I think, man, I can't believe I almost missed this. I'm talking about people like Daniela Illustra, who just constantly puts out quality sketches that I'm seeing all over Twitter every week of Wizard and Warrior content. I'm talking about Tanya Del Rio's comics and just so many other things that Tanya makes. She's just like a creative powerhouse that's just constantly making beautiful things. I saw today she's got a new project called like I think
The
it's called
Canis Coven.
Yeah, the Canis Coven. Mind blowing. I can't
Yeah.
wait to see what happens with that.
Oh, we didn't even mention Loxley above. Did we mention?
Oh, I
Loxley?
did. Yeah.
You did. Okay. Yeah, the Canis Coven is amazing. When I saw that, when I saw the Canis Coven logo, I was like, "Wait, is this a new NFT project?" And I'm like, "Oh no, this is Tony. This is amazing."
Yeah, no, and we have so many like just like generalized creative powerhouses in our cult. Like we mentioned Acid Eater. Acid Eater is always just putting out just amazing stuff. We've got Wise Sam, who just like every week is doing some new style, new meme, new like take on the Runiverse. It just blows my mind the stuff out of Wise Sam. We've got freaking Oz and Ma Friends, who just like Oz, he's like a cult favorite. He's always doing new styles, new pieces of artwork. He's been going nonstop for over a year. We've got Color Master and Color Master Studios, who just did that amazing Christmas card with Tad Major. Always good stuff. We've got Shark Child, Chemical Imbalance, Chuck K, Shaman Voidoff, Sammy and Barren, Malevolent, Tabitha of the Marsh, Lore Punk. All of these people just constantly put out amazing stuff. And then we've got a whole like crew of meme lords who just bring the humor and the laughs and the lulls to the cult. We've got the One Who Rings, Derek the Wizard, Cosmic Birds, Emma with her amazing movie posters. Shark Child's got a lot of good memes. Night Owl Birdman, oh my god, the videos that Night Owl Birdman does, constantly awesome. Two Crows, Hen Boyd, and of course, Cheddar Bob. Cheddar Bob, how dare you? That's all I have to say. How dare you?
I like it, Cheddar Bob.
Cheddar, I'm
Bring
here
on
for
the
you.
cucumpocalypse. No, there was like a solid 3 weeks this summer when there was nothing else going on, and we just turned into like the forgotten Q-cum dog cult.
It was a cult within a cult. Yeah.
Yeah.
We even had to change Wizard Wednesday if people were there for that one. And then we've got a Dr. Slurp who was always dropping amazing music. He did a really great live music event when he forged the Heavens Base. We've got and that's just like the tip of the iceberg for the Wizards cult. We've got some legendary warriors who just they don't stop. Belial, attacker of wizards. Oh my God, this is a legendary warrior that does not stop. Another favorite warrior that I've noticed is Joan Danger, the warrior with a shield only. Love Joan Danger, such a strong warrior. Maui has drawn a lot of great warriors recently. And then, there are some people who I can't really categorize, like Sharon. Who doesn't love Sharon's story time? Are you kidding me? Like,
Oh
we
yeah.
need. Sharon needs to like record some bedtime stories to help me sleep at night. I mean, Sharon is probably the best storyteller we've got in the cult, hands down. We've got the poetry, the constant poetic flow from Lore Punk. Lore Punk sings, she makes music, she makes poems. I mean, Lore Punk is an all-star who has
Yeah.
been with us basically since day
Since the
one.
beginning, and I've said this before, really, there was like one moment when I knew that like we had something special was when Lore Punk replied to the crow, um, Claire's crow, with a poem, and I went and I told Miss Dotta, and I was like, "Can you believe this? Someone replied with a poem. They wrote a poem." And then I
Yep.
remember when we did Wizard Wednesday, and it was like I told my friends, I was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do a poetry reading on our Twitter space," and it was felt so novel because like nobody else had ever done that. No NFT project had held a poetry reading on Twitter Spaces, and like now we do it, whatever, all the time. And then the second time that I knew that Lore Punk had brought something special was when she just sang a cappella. She's just like, yeah, I'll just get on here in front of 200
Yeah.
people and like just sing a song I wrote, and I was just like,
Yes.
this is magic. So thank you, Lore Punk, for always bringing magic.
Truly, truly, no doubt. And then I also want to give a shout out to the mods in our Discord. Without you, like the Discord would not be what it is.
Yeah.
Jitsi, Wise Sam, O, Matto, and the one who rings. You guys are
Yeah.
really just a core piece of the community. So I mean, well done, guys. And I think that might be all I have on my list. I know there are so many more people. Zayla Soul always making awesome contributions. Um, Damn it, I know that
I
I'm
know
missing
there are
people.
so many. There are so many.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Please,
the cult is enormous.
yeah, paste in the Discord too. Anybody who you think of that we missed, and because we'll have to go through these again, yeah, and follow up. So yeah,
Yep, yep. But yeah, I mean, that's I think 2022 was just a fantastic year.
incredible.
We are not slowing down. We're hitting the ground running for 2023. We've got big plans. Perhaps next Wizard Wednesday we can sort of hint at what we're gonna do. But yeah, I think that's all for me.
Yeah, we're putting together our roadmap. I don't know that we'll have kind of like the official roadmap done by next Wednesday, insofar as like a lot of us are still traveling this week. It might take a couple of weeks before we get it, but I think in January we'll have a new roadmap out to talk about it. And I think for a lot of people that listen to Wizard Wednesday, it's not going to be particularly like shocking, right? There's no left hand turns. It's a lot of the things that we've talked about that we want to do already, and then a lot of things that we want to improve, both around like the website, the book of lore, lore building tools, whatever. I won't get into it now, but yeah, this has been an incredible year. I've been just so thankful to meet so many of you and to become friends, and I really just consider so many of you just like such good friends, and I'm 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 more excited than ever for all the things that we're going to build together, all the things that we're going to build at Magic Machine for Forgotten Runes, but then all the things we're going to build together as the cult. Is just like the future is incredibly bright.
Yep. Bear, any final words?
My mom just stopped punching me, and I'm still standing. No, I have like a bad connection for some reason. Surprise, surprise. So I didn't want to cut in, but yeah, I couldn't be happier. I love everyone at Magic Machine. I love the cult. You know, and I'd say patience is a virtue. You know, it takes some time to build the kinds of things that we want to build. So appreciate each and every one of you who are contributing and staying with us for this ride. It's inspiring, and I'm more excited than I have ever been.
William, I noticed you came up, but we never gave you a moment. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I left it as a comment. I was just gonna ask if you guys had links to the speech in Miami, and I know you said the TED Talk kind of got fucked up, but there was another speech after that, or I forget what it was.
Yeah, at NFT.
I left it as
in Miami.
The other
Bear,
one
do you know anything if
was
there's a
the
video of
animated
that?
trailer. Yeah, if you had a link to the animated trailer too, that'd be dope.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's usually pinned to our Twitter. I think we may have changed it for the New Year announcement stuff.
The trailer is pinned to my Twitter, actually. The TED Talk I have a video of. I'm probably not allowed to publish it, but maybe I can share it in the Discord.
Yeah, do you have like a script or something, right? Because at the very least you could re-record it and we could post something you re-record.
Yeah, we might do that. And then as far as the Miami stage thing that I did, Bear, do you know if that's available anywhere?
You know what? I'll have to ask. I'll have to ask around, but it was definitely recorded, so it's living somewhere.
Cool.
So it was part of Decentral Miami. So we'll find it and we can post it for sure.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, thank you. I just figured I'd watch in the free time, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Check out the trailer.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yep. So even though things may take a long time, we are still full throttle ahead on speedrunning the franchise. This has been Elf, channeling out from the Quantum Downs with Bear, Snake, and Dotta. GN, everybody.